G'day, I wanted to respond to this comment and I want to thank the commenter for this comment. Yeah, I did let myself show the anger and I don't normally let myself get this riled up, but this is really the straw that's broken the camel's back for me and a lot of people that I talk to. Because most people just really have no idea how invasive this government has become into the rural areas and into farming in particular. Today, they want my guns. Previously, both the Australian and the French government have wanted my land to put transmission lines through. They've wanted to build wind towers on my farm. Then the state government infringed my constitutional right of Section 100 of the Australian Constitution by making me sign up to a water sharing plan. Then, just about 6 months later, the federal government threw that out and intervened themselves and infringed on my rights even worse with the Murray-Darling Water, whatever the plan is, Murray-Darling Basin Authority. And now I have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars every year just to keep my constitutional rights to water. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember, but a bunch of years ago when solar was coming in, the state government of New South Wales offered us 60 cents per kilowatt of any excess that we put up into the net. So we spent probably 6 or 8 times what solar panels are worth and put them on our roof to try and reduce our bill, thinking that this 60 cents would pay it off. Then about 3 years later, two years later, there was an election. And the day after that election, they canned that 60 cents. So stiffed me again. In Australia, if you want to sell a cow, it has to have an NLIS ear tag. I sold a cow and that electronic ear tag didn't work. The numbers written on it were still visible and could have been read. But no, at the yards, they replaced that tag, charged me about $50 for the privilege, and then the authority that manages all this sent me a letter saying because I sent a cow that didn't have an electronic ear tag in it, mind you, it was there, it just didn't work, I am up for a $220,000 fine if I ever do that again. I didn't do anything wrong. They could have read the number. It just didn't work. Sometimes computer things don't work. But no, $220,000 fine for me. Now, the Pastoral Protection Board, which is now known as the Local Land Service, said to all us farmers, if you need help with your weeds, etc., give us a call and we'll help you. We gave them a call. They came out, said, oh, St John's wort, oh, blackberries, naughty things, can't have those. If they're not in reduced numbers next year, we're going to fine you $10,000. Here's your warning notice. That's how they helped. A few weeks ago, the state government introduced a trial out in the Walgett district. I'm not in the Walgett district, luckily, but basically they're going to fine any landholders that don't reduce and manage the numbers of their feral animals. So their help to reduce feral pigs and deer and foxes and goats is to fine the landholders. Not give them tools, not give them back their guns, not give them any way of actually managing them, just fine them. Pretty soon, this thing is going to be hailed a massive success because the government's going to get millions of dollars out of it, and they are going to bring it out to everybody. And then we're all stuffed. They're just going to fine us out of existence. When we first moved out here, we signed a 99-year lease for some country over the back here, which was Crown land. So every year we paid money to the Crown to lease this land. And then there was an Aboriginal land claim put on the land and it went to court. And the court said the lease we had was illegal and they shouldn't have leased it to us. Therefore, the lease didn't exist. And if the lease didn't exist, therefore that land has been unoccupied for the last 30 years. And if it's unoccupied, it automatically gets given back to the local Aboriginal Land Corporation, which the land has done so. So now we pay them rent instead of the government. But in that same finding, the government said there will be no compensation for ripping you out of the rest of your lease, the other 67 years or whatever was left, and you cannot have a refund for the lease payments that you made on an illegal lease to the government. So here we are, guess who gets stung again? This is just some of what we deal with. This is why I say, get out of my life, leave me alone. This is why I'm so angry. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a bad person, but every time I turn around, I'm getting kicked in the teeth. Luckily, I'm a bit like a Chumbawamba song. I get knocked down, but I get up again. But now, every time I get up a little angrier. It has to stop. We need representation that works for us, works to help us and make us better, not just feather their own nest. We can't keep getting back up and continuing on. The scars are getting too thick and heavy now. It's getting too hard. That is why I say, I'm done with this lot.